Okay, so today we are going to be talking about books outside of my usual what's it called? Outside of my usual taste. I'm not retaking that. Shout out to the commenter who asked this question during my 100K live stream, and then shout out to Lynn, who is one of my patrons and who saw the question, saw that I didn't see it, and then messaged me later and said, hey, this would be a good video. You should answer this person's question in video form. So commenter that I didn't see, this one's for you. And for Lynn. So this list was surprisingly harder to make than I actually thought it was going to be, because I feel like I have a pretty wide range in reading taste. Sure, there are definitely specific things that I don't like, but I read a lot of genres. There aren't very many genres that I just say, I don't really like that as a whole. There are tropes that I don't like, and there are themes that I don't like. So I kind of leaned into that for this video because I don't know how else to do it. But there are definitely some genre-specific ones as well. Let's start with a classic, Pride and Prejudice. So I love classics, but I don't love romance. I feel like people think when I say that I'm hating on the genre, and I'm not. There are some romance books that I love, but most of them that I try, I don't end up loving. And this one specifically is so hyped that I just didn't expect to love it. And it's also a hate to love, or like a frustration to love, indifference to love sort of thing. And I just didn't, that's not a trope I tend to like. Friendship to lovers is my favorite, and that's almost the opposite. But oh my goodness, did I love this book so daggum much. It has a big focus on family, it has a big focus on conflicts within family and societal issues, and Jane Austen really pokes fun at her society and the ridiculousness of what is expected of women of this time. It's really a story about the structures of society and a commentary on so many important themes. I actually have a whole review for Pride and Prejudice, and it's a mess, but if you want to watch it, you should. And I loved all the different themes in this book, and I loved that these characters, the reason they were so conflicting in the beginning is because of their flaws. And through the life circumstances around them, they both ended up growing into better, more holistic people. And through that internal growth, they were able to come together as a couple. And I just loved that so much. It was such a beautiful love story, but also such an amazing story outside of the romance as well. And I love this book. Next is going to be a series that I talked about in a recent video, so I will try to keep it short, and that is the Remnant Chronicles. Runaway princess, main character who's super selfish and immature, love triangles, two boys falling for the same girl, and both of them are super deceitful. Main character is a little bit hypocritical at the beginning, and it's a mess of a relationship. So many things about this series should make me hate it, but I love it so much. A lot of it is because of our main character's character growth. She is not the same person in book 1 that she is in book 3, and who she is in book 3 is an inspiration, and she makes so many tough and selfless decisions, and I love seeing her character arc. I also really like the romance. This is a love triangle, sort of. I don't think it's certainly not the most offensive love triangle out there. At least she doesn't just go back and forth between the men for 3 books. Hunger Games. But this is one of the few series where there was one guy that I did prefer, but by the end, I was pretty happy with whoever she chose. I didn't really care who she would choose because I thought that both relationships had a lot of potential and both guys were worthy of such an incredible girl. It was also one of the few love triangles where I didn't feel like the author it was obvious where they were gonna go, so what's the point? But it's mainly the character growth that I love so much in this series. I also really like the world. There are definitely a lot of major flaws, especially in book 3 and the way everything resolved. Not with the love triangle, actually. Well, yeah, there were flaws with that too, now that I think of it. There's a lot of flaws in the series, but I just love it. And I don't care that no one else seems to. Next is going to be Caves of Steel. So one of the few genres that I just straight up say, as of this point, I just really don't like the genre as a whole, and that is detective murder mysteries. I don't know why, but I just don't care about following a detective while they try to solve crimes. I've tried several of them, and I've never found one that I liked. I'm still trying, though. I refuse to give up on this genre as a whole, and some of my subscribers have sent me some that I really want to try because I want to love every genre. But for whatever reason, detective murder mysteries, and I don't mind a mystery, and I don't mind, like, I love thrillers and domestic thrillers and mystery thrillers and murder thrillers, but detective murder mysteries, for whatever reason, I just don't. I don't like them. I'm still gonna keep trying though, you guys. I'm gonna keep trying. That said, Caves of Steel and Robot, whoa, oh, I'm not gonna remember these. Whatever, I've read 3 of them so far, and I'm reading the 4th one this month in this Isaac Asimov detective murder mystery series, and I like them. I still don't care about the detective doing interviews and trying to reason things out, but the reason I like this so much is because I love Asimov's use of AIs. I love the worlds he creates. I love the problems that he creates in his worlds and how the characters have to solve them. I think that it's brilliant and it's so much fun to watch unfold. I also really love the dynamic between this detective and his partner, who is an AI, because, oh my goodness, he starts off with this sort of prejudice where he just doesn't want to interact with robots and doesn't want to project personality onto them. And the friendship and genuine love that grows between them is beautiful, and I love it. Next is going to be the Harts Invisible Furies. So this is about a man. We start with him before he's born. The prologue is his mom when she's pregnant with him, or the first chapter is anyway. And then we grow up with him. And there's a lot that I don't like about this book. Primarily, I don't like that it essentially has no plot. That's usually not my thing. I love really, really strong characters, but I want a plot too, and this book doesn't have it. I also don't like the amount of time jumps that we have, as well as times where we're rehashing scenes that we've already read. There's a lot that this book did that I didn't love, but despite all that, I still gave it 4 stars because I loved the main character so much. Cyril is a character that I didn't like at the start. He starts out as such a flawed character, and he makes so many mistakes in his life, and as a kid, he does some of the dumbest stuff, and he has this dumbest infatuation, but who he grows to be is amazing, and the way he handles people that just treat him terribly is incredible. And he became a character that was so real to me, and I felt like I hung out with a real person, and I missed him when the book was over because he's someone that I genuinely want in my life and I want to have as a friend and someone that I learn from and grow from just being around. This book, I don't tend to like books that are all about the characters and have no focus whatsoever on any actual story. It's just the character's life, unless it's nonfiction. I like that in nonfiction, but fiction, I want some plot. And there were a lot of writing choices that just did not work for me. But despite all that, I ended up loving this book so much because I love Cyril so much, but I also love the side characters so much. And this is a book that you just wouldn't think that I would love, but I did. Next book is going to be On Lunatime. I just realized that looked really weird. The tea was sitting on top of the bookshelf. On Lunatime is one of the self-pub books that I actually narrated. I'm getting book 3 really soon. I get to critique it when she's done writing it, and I'm dying to get my hands on the last part of this story. This is a time travel romance, which, man, we already talked about the fact that romance doesn't tend to be my thing, though it can be. But also time travel is a big no for me. Unless you're Doctor Who, then okay, yeah, we're gonna have some time travel, but anything else, I don't care. It's one of the things, it's one of the devices that I never tend to like. Except for Doctor Who, and apparently On Lunatime. It was done in a very contained way where the rules were clearly explained and I'm comfortable with it, but also the focus of this book is very much on family and finding who you are through that. And it's a really beautiful story, and I also love all the little details that get woven together in this simple yet complex way. And also the romance in this book is freaking adorable. It has so many elements that I don't tend to like, and then it ends up being just this adorable, adorable story that I really, really love, and I can't wait for the 3rd part. Next book I actually talked about in a recent video, so I'll keep it short. The Starless Sea. So full disclosure, this was in my romance video, like books that tackled romance and did it either well or poorly, and this is a book that I think did a really bad job at it. That said, This book did something that I don't tend to like, and I really liked it in this book. This is a very environmental book. The point of this book is the location and how it feels to be there. This is about kind of like hidden doors, being lost inside of a book, being lost inside of a story, fairy tales. It's wild. I have a whole review for it that's spoiler-free. Jump over there if you care. This book did a lot of things that I didn't like. The fact that it barely had a plot and it was really all about the environment. The fact that the characters weren't built up at all. The fact that it had insta-love. There were so many things that it did that I didn't like. And yet, I came away really happy that I read it and really enjoying the overall experience of it, even though to the last page, I couldn't tell if I loved the book or hated it. When I read that last page, when I finally finished, I was like, I think I liked it. I think I might have even loved it. I don't tend to love books that are really, really, really environmental, and that's really what the focus of the book is, and the other elements aren't given a lot of focus. But this is the first time I've read a book like that I actually think maybe I could love this type of book. Maybe it's because it felt so much like being lost in a fairy tale, and the themes of the book in general are something that I kind of tend to eat up, and so being lost in this environment was great for me. But yeah, environmental reads, books where the environment is the focus of the book, that's not my jam. But in this book, it really was. Next, I have a couple more romances. We have Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. It was adorable, and I really, really liked it, and I would read it again. And I said that I would keep reading this author's books, but I read a couple more, and I never really connected with it. Like, I read, Love and Other Words, which I liked half of and I didn't like half of. I didn't like the ending of it. The Unhoneymooners, which again I liked, but I didn't like the ending of. And then I DNF'd Roomies. And what's funny is Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating is the book that it seems like most people really hate the ending to, but I liked it. So I don't know. I probably just have a really bad taste in romance, but I really liked it. And another really cute contemporary book that I loved was On the Fence by Casey West. It focuses on grief and family and finding who you are when who you are is changing. It has a friends to lovers romance, which I love so much. And it has one of the best family dynamics I've ever read. And this is one of the books that I wish that I could just step into and hang out with these people. The main character is an incredible girl that I love so much, and her dad and all her brothers are amazing, and everybody in this book I love and I wish I could hang out with. This book, man, I don't know how to recommend it because it's so different from what I generally love, but it's also kind of the perfect book for me. It's hard to explain. And the last book I'm going to talk about in this video is I Captured the Castle, which I think is like a gothic classic. I should look it up real quick. Hang on. Okay, it seems to be hard to categorize. It has a ton of subgenres: comedy, romance, domestic fiction, diary fiction, something that I can't even pronounce. So there you go. That's what this is. But it's about a girl whose family is suddenly very poor, and they live in a rundown, terrible castle, and they don't have any money. And then circumstances cause them to think maybe they can get some money, and it's a wild ride. I don't know how to describe this one, partially because it's been a minute since I've read it, but then also partially because there's a lot that happens in the end that is what makes me love it. But these main characters are really easy to follow. I really liked the way it everything but the way I didn't like the way her dad's issues resolved. But everything else, the main focus of the book, I really liked the way it resolved, and I just really enjoyed reading it. It's also a classic that I think is really, really, really readable. So if you're fairly new to classics, this is a really easy place to start. So there you go. There's a whole bunch of books that I wouldn't think that I would like, but it turns out I do. I'd love to hear if you've read any of these, if you plan on reading them. What are some books that are outside of your comfort zone, that outside of what you would normally read, that you ended up loving for whatever reason? Some more books outside of my comfort zone that you think I would love for whatever reason? I post videos every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.